Hi, I'm Nicholas Gazzard. I'm CHF Canada's Executive Director. With me today is Nicole Waldron, CHF Canada's President, and we're very pleased to be talking to you today on the occasion of our annual meeting in Niagara Falls 2017. Nicole, it's been a busy and exciting year since you first became President this time last year.
It sure has, Nicholas, and I am excited to be serving my first term as president of CHF Canada. And it's great to see how engaged our members have been. And you are members, you are just a phenomenal group of individuals because you show not just our politicians, our stakeholders, you show the community at large that co-op housing matters to you. So Nicholas, I think we should share a little bit of the highlights that we have experienced over the last year.
Sure, yes. I mean, really the top of mind issue for most of our members, certainly our federal members this last year, has been the You Hold the Key campaign, and we've got lots of stuff to tell you about that, and also the expansion of our services to meet members' needs as they change and as operating agreements expire. In terms of the You Hold the Key campaign progress, I think we've come a long way, but we're far from the finish line at this particular point. Budget 2016 provided some temporary relief for some, but not all, of our members whose agreements were expiring. Budget 2017 built on that by promising a continuation of what they called the baseline funding, which is the funding that's been flowing to co-ops and other federal program affordable housing as agreements expire. Our job now is to work with the government and make sure that the way that is unfolded, the way the extension is rolled out, meets the needs of our members, and we've always been very clear about what those are.
So continue to stay engaged because we are making momentum when all of us stay engaged together.
Yeah, that's right, Nicole. I should add that if it were not for the contribution of our members at the grassroots co-op levels, we would not have had the success in this campaign that we have had. It's because of your voices that have been speaking out loud and clear for a long time now about the need to continue to provide affordable co-op housing for low-income and vulnerable members that we've reached the point we have in this campaign. I think it's also worth realizing that 2017 budget was a housing budget, and it's due in no small part to the general raising of the issue by our members to the political level. In fact, we've heard from politicians that they are very pleased and happy that our members have put on so much pressure because they wanted housing to get onto the federal agenda, and it's on there in no small measure because of that. We also have to pay some credit as well to our regional members and associates, our federations particularly, who have carried that message forward to politicians in their area, and not just federal ones, but also provincial ones and municipal politicians as well, particularly in Ontario.
We just had a meeting with Nathalie Desrosiers, our MPP, and the purpose of the meeting was to talk about our project of expansion.
How many? 62 units?
So we're 62 units. There's some new programs coming down the pipe, federal government, provincial, everyone's talking a lot. So now it's to see how that can be turned into action.
So the subsidy is 17%?
17%, so it represents about $90,000.
And this was a really important opportunity to get the MPP on side and to build those relationships that are going to make this project possible. We always want to have our co-op members out at meetings that we have in the constituency because they put a real face on our issues.
Nicholas, you're so right. This engagement of our members is so key. And you know, housing being on the lips of many politicians across the board, no matter what level of government they sit in, is phenomenal. And it's not just in the mouths of members of parliament. It's not just in the councillors. It's actually the community is speaking about it. The media is speaking about it. Housing has become a national issue in Canada.
Nicole, I think it's worth adding that CHF Canada has played a very significant role in broader housing policy issues through the National Housing Collaborative, which has been instrumental in providing some very insightful policy advice to the Minister, to Minister Duclos, as he's preparing the National Housing Strategy. And I think it's important to realize that CHF Canada is a voice not just for cooperative housing, but for housing generally in this country. Just to put a finishing note on that, Nicole, I think we are getting close to the finish line, but not there yet. We have to hold our foot to the pedal, but let's hope by this time next year we can turn our attention away from continuing to provide affordability to actually expanding our movement.
Yes, because it is a time of growth for us. And there's going to be new horizons, new things for us to look forward to, and the potential new housing stock that we're looking forward to building.
Nicole, as we look to a changing future, I think it's worth talking about how we're getting on with our voicing our vision exercise. As you recall, last year's annual meeting, our members adopted a resolution calling on us to consult with them to look at what the movement might look like as we go forward in the future, not just CHF Canada, but the whole of the co-op housing sector in Canada. And we've made a lot of progress on that. We've consulted with our members in many different ways, including face-to-face engagement. We're going to be reporting back on that and talking about that at the workshops at this annual meeting. In fact, by the time you see this, these workshops will have taken place. Worth remembering that, of course, the 2018 annual meeting will be the occasion of our 50th anniversary. CHF Canada will be 50 years old by then.
And you know, the conversations have been very healthy. The conversations have been very animated. And you know what? It has broadened our thinking. It's broadened our horizons. And you know, you're hearing more about the growth of the sector. In order to continue with that momentum, and I can't stress it enough, you sharing your stories, and I encourage you to share your stories, because one of the things we have at Co-op Housing are good stories. We have what we're doing with our seniors. We have our rooftop gardens. We have sustainability. We have so much that we're doing in the sector, but Canada doesn't always know about it. And I think you know that. So it's important that you start sharing your stories, whether you want to go on Facebook Live and share a story, whether you want to tweet about who you are as a co-op. Please share your stories, because as we go out there and campaign and galvanize and talk to our politicians about letting them know who we are and the needs that you have and why they should support you, your story is going to be the thing that gets to their heart and tells them the truth.
Nicole, I think I'd like to talk a little bit more about our refinancing program. It was obviously developed in response to a real need for co-ops to find sources of new capital. Co-ops have not typically been able to save the kind of money that they wanted to save or needed to save to reinvest in their buildings and keep them current and modern and up to code. We've responded to that need by partnering with credit unions, and we've created a lending program that so far has been in high demand. We have been instrumental in credit unions lending close to $60 million to our members for all kinds of different reinvestments in their properties, and we see no end to that. We particularly see the end of the operating agreements for the federal co-ops as being a catalytic moment to increase the scope of that program. And we're not offering that program because we want to become a big lending business. We're offering that program because we know it meets an evolving need of our members and has been doing so for a few years now, actually. And there's also, of course, our asset management service. We realize that in order for members to understand what their borrowing needs are, what they need to do is firstly examine the buildings and their condition and figure out what kind of a reinvestment they need to make. And I think a measure of its success has been the very successful partnership we've had with the government of Nova Scotia, where we have delivered asset management services to more than 40 co-ops in the province. And I think that is a testament to the quality of the program. And we're very pleased that our members have found great value in the asset management program.
We were fortunate to be able to partner and to be able to create a program that actually worked for housing cooperatives. Co-ops are certainly receiving some of those necessary capital items, roofs, windows, doors, siding, which has a huge impact on how they're marketing their units.
So Nicole, let's look at where we're going. We've talked about where we've come from and what we've been doing, but I think it's important to hear from both of us. And I'd like to start with you on what you see as our agenda for the next months and years.
I know growth and development is going to be very big. Even as we continue to focus on sustainability and ensuring that our members' futures are secure, that subsidies are here. And in order to get that done, my friends, we have to stay engaged. We have to mobilize. We have to rally together. And so I encourage you in that aspect. When we look to development and growth, we have to keep our ears tuned in to what's happening in our country and see the opportunity and seize the opportunity and see where there are partnerships for others to come on board with us. Because as co-ops, you know, we are about building communities.
We are looking at the emergence of new services for CHF Canada to meet the changing needs of our members. Many of our members, the federal co-ops, are moving away from a regulatory environment to an enterprise environment. We know it's social enterprise, but nonetheless, social enterprises, like any other businesses, have to be run as businesses. And what we have to do, if we're going to offer value to our members, is make sure that we meet the needs that they have to run successful, affordable housing businesses. For us, the immediate priority, obviously, is to continue to hold the government to account to support low-income Canadians living in housing cooperatives. And I know our staff will be working hard on that until that campaign is won, and we will not stand back until that has happened. At the same time, we're looking forward to a growth agenda as well. This past year, we have hired a development manager for the first time in a long time to help us look for opportunities to grow the cooperative housing movement. And we're also adding staff in the policy and government relations areas. Well, there's been quite a few changes in CHF Canada staff over the past couple of years, and I think that's very refreshing. We have brought on new people, young people, and I just want to say generally, CHF Canada staff is amazing. The work they do on your behalf is quite unbelievable. When you look around this annual meeting, you'll see most of our staff is here. There really aren't that many of them, just over 30 people doing all of this work. And one thing I will say is that, speaking on behalf of staff, we really appreciate the tremendous support we get for our work from the Board of Directors, from the Ontario Council, and people in positions of governance generally. We also enjoy an extremely strong relationship with our regional federation partners, and all of these things knit together to create an incredibly strong, unified movement that I have to say is the envy of many other housing sectors across the country and, in fact, across the world. And I hope everybody's had a great week at this AGM. We're winding to a close now, but today's event promises to be good and strong, and we're going to talk about some interesting resolutions. And maybe even if one of them passes, we'll be looking to invest some significant money in the service of development of new housing cooperatives. So stay tuned and let's see where that resolution goes.
And as we wind down, and at the end of the day, you know, we pass the torch to the next city that we're going to be in for our AGM. See you then, because it's going to be phenomenal in Victoria.